On today's episode, Karnage Chronicles, make some friends collect some loot. Axegend, is this Orcs Must Die in VR or am I feeling deja vu? Car Parking Simulator, where did you learn to drive? And Samurai Slaughterhouse, let's paint the walls red. It's time for Lipnox VR.
Hello everyone, this is Lipnox VR, my name is Adam, and welcome to the show about VR. We're looking at games on PCVR and on the Oculus Quest too. So strap in, get excited, and I would just want to say, comment down below any suggestions you have. This is a new idea and I'm really excited about it. But before wasting any more time, let's get into the first game, and believe me, it's pretty awesome, especially if you have some friends. So excuse me if this ends up being a few minutes of pure praise, but Karnage Chronicles is one of the best VR games I've had the pleasure of playing. Before we get into it, I was given a review key and played it on my Oculus Quest 2 using virtual desktop and an RTX 2060 powered computer. Anyways, it feels in a lot of ways like what would happen if you took Diablo 3 and Skyrim and combined them in VR. I could point out minor bugs that I experienced throughout my 8-hour playtime and waste time talking about that, but let's be honest, this game is an insanely good value as a single player game. Add in the fact that you can go in and join in your friends or a public match with 3 other people, and just like Diablo, take your single player character and items with you, and it quickly becomes apparent why so many players have such massive playtimes, with 2 reviews on Steam clocking in at over 100 hours. So it's a dungeon crawler, 100% it is, and while there are only 2 classes, Warrior and Archer, you are given some freedom with how you play each. Myself deciding the Warrior's crossbow wasn't for me, and restarting as an Archer, focusing on the bow. There are shields and a massive assortment of weapons going far past just swords and daggers. You can buy gear, but the best stuff is by pure chance with some lucky loot. They up the chances of good gear dropping in the single player, by the way, so if you're struggling with co-op, you should play a bit of solo and see what you find. You're going to be facing a lot of enemies, and having good armor will make a world of difference, as dying isn't the worst thing, but it can get pretty annoying later on in the game, having to repeat segments where there are a lot of enemies to fight. You're given a pouch to store your gear, and in a lot of ways it took time to adjust, as it seems to just kind of turn with you, making it sometimes hard to grab healing items on the fly. Though, one good thing is you can expand it, thankfully, so very quickly on, I suggest going to the store and buying that upgrade, so you're not walking back and forth trying to sell stuff as often. You still will be. There is also a pickaxe-like tool for some extra gold and stuff to sell. The game has some puzzles, but not a lot, and I admit each time one happened, I was like, what do I do? As the papers needed to solve the puzzles take up a slot each, so I constantly found myself selling them or dropping them, and had to resort to looking up one of the solutions online. Thankfully, the information is widely available. There are 3 pretty lengthy dungeons that will definitely occupy your time a lot, and can be reset if you're unable to join friends online and want to fight through them again, but otherwise the game does a great job saving your progress so you can jump back in and explore without worrying about having to fight everything again, and that makes it really easy to pick up and put down, and honestly, you should take breaks. I felt my arms getting pretty worn out with all the arrow firing and would get sloppy and lazy. There are also a decent selection of bosses, and while only one was truly massive scale, they were all somewhat memorable and fun to do. Like Diablo, there is a town portal-like item, and throughout the game there are 3 shops to spend money at as you progress further, and a chest to stash items for later or to share with your friends in multiplayer. Graphically, this game looks gorgeous. You can see it on the screen and in the headset. There is no blurry visuals and everything looks sharp and very detailed. Lots of varied environments, mostly underground in caves and ruins for the first 2 dungeons, but finishing off in an outdoor location. I played it on my Oculus Quest 2 with virtual desktop for the most part, and without a doubt the first thing you will say is, wow, this looks nice. It also sounds really good with some amazing spoken dialogue, sound effects, ambient audio, music, and there's even a song with vocals sung at one point, which I admit to really getting into.
Life itself been redefined, is necromantic lore, a gift to elvenkind.
For me, Karnage Chronicles is one of those games that took a little bit of time to get into, but once it had me hooked, I was hooked. Parents beware, there are flying harpy characters who are topless, so if you're not okay with the female chest area being exposed and detailed, you might want to pass on this, but otherwise there isn't any gore or anything like that. Also, if you're planning on playing with friends, the Oculus Store version's multiplayer isn't cross-compatible with the Steam VR version, from my understanding. But yeah, the game is absolutely amazing. If you like this stuff and have a computer that can run it, then it's a must-own. Friends or no friends. It does not matter. Get it for solo, get it for co-op, just get it. I know the studio has been held up a bit with the current situation, so there are maybe some bigger updates down the road, which I mean, awesome, right? As it stands now though, Karnage Chronicles is a perfect example of a need-to-own game, and I wish the studio the best of luck going forward, and had a wonderful time playing it. Okay, I admit it. That last one had some pretty tough moments. The third level had just waves of enemies coming at you, and I'll be honest, the first part of it really annoyed me. Thankfully, I pushed through, and the second part wasn't so bad. But if I had friends, I probably wouldn't have had that issue. Now the next game, there is no multiplayer yet, but it is supposedly coming by the end of the year. So, let's get into it, and see if you like it. It's time to talk about Axegend. Fans of Orcs Must Die, Dungeon Defenders, or other dungeon crawler meets tower defense styled games, take note. This is one I waited far too long to check out, and now that I've been given the chance from the developers and given a free copy of the game to cover it on the channel, let me fill you in on what you're missing. Gameplay-wise, you're placing traps, turrets, etc., and facing waves of enemies charging towards you a crystal that a princess or queen, some girl is in. Sorry, I'm not usually much of a story guy in these kind of titles. But it's not all traps, because you get a pretty unbelievable assortment of weapons to defeat the endless onslaught of enemies that come at you each wave. And I'm not talking about a bunch of different shaped swords. We have guns, throwable shields, dragon-faced punching gloves that you can fire towards your foes. If this game has any strength above others, it's the massive assortment of awesome you get to play with that is worth the asking price right there. Beyond the waves, you eventually come to face off against bosses, and admittedly, they require a different strategy, so keep in mind you want to have a good ranged weapon. The physics on the weapons aren't anywhere near what you get from titles like Gorn, but I wouldn't worry about it, you still have a lot of fun. There are also minigames you can choose to do in between areas that give you bonus weapons and currency that in a lot of ways feel like they could be in a VR version of Mario Party, and I really love how they mix up the gameplay like that. I was doing all sorts of stuff from knocking axes out of the air before they hit me to doing some fishing. There is definitely a lot here. Also, there's a tavern hub area you can buy weapons or do some gambling and try your luck to get some gear as well. Graphically, it's not a great first impression, but again, there is so much content inside this, I wouldn't let that impact your thoughts on this game, as the audio, for example, sounds great, with some seriously awesome voiceovers, and lucky for me, Christmas music. Okay, maybe I'm not so into the Christmas music, but the fact they put the effort in to add some festive cheer for the holidays shows the dedication the team has. To conclude, Axegend is a fantastic game, and I really love spending time with it. There is a ton of content for the small price point, and it's available on SideQuest, itch, Steam, and is part of the Vive Infinity subscription, so there really isn't any excuse not to play this one. It's also supposed to get a multiplayer version in the third quarter of this year, so that has me excited to play with friends too. If you're into dungeon crawlers or tower defense, don't wait any longer. Axegend is most definitely worth having in your collection. Alright, there's no denying that I'm a fan of using a sword in VR. We got blood, we got dismemberment, and believe me, the next game is gonna blow your mind. I've seen the creator posting videos on Facebook, and I've been in communication with him since I think October or so, before I got my PC. He's been working on an Oculus Quest version, but today I'm taking a look at the PC version, which I am beyond excited to show you guys. This is one you're gonna like. Want to be a samurai? In VR? Yeah, exactly my thoughts. Who doesn't? Well, Samurai Slaughterhouse is in production for PCVR and Oculus Quest 1 and 2, so everyone that said yes to that question, let me tell you, this game looks amazing. As you can see on screen already, it's like being in a classic manga comic in VR, and mostly devoid of color, except, well, the blood. You're painting the environment in blood, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. You're able to slice enemies any way you want when using the power attack. You can even slice right through several at once if you time it correctly. The combat works very similar to the best melee games, offering the ability to parry and rewarding you with some awesome physics when you get a good slice. So yes, this is a very fun time, and one that even in its current early state, I had a hard time putting down. So while sword combat feels amazing, I really want to talk about the other features this game has. It's an RPG at heart, and while you're free to use the analog stick to move during combat, that function is removed outside of combat. Now you're asking, why would they choose that design choice? Well, I spoke with the developer and he mentioned being inspired by titles like Pokemon and the random battle element. In this game, every square you move onto, teleport onto, has a random chance to trigger an encounter with enemies. And while it may feel like an odd choice at first, we have to remember this is an RPG, and I think if you are eager to grind to level up, or just enjoy fighting enemies, it ensures you're spending a significant amount of time in these areas admiring the details instead of quickly progressing through them. Currently the build I played is mostly just the combat, but there is a ramen stand you can go to and interact with some NPCs, and you can clearly see that they themselves look like they were pulled right from those same manga pages I mentioned above and brought right into VR. They look awesome, and in the current build I played, the guy gives you quests, which are chosen randomly from preset options. Imagining this package as a fully contained RPG, I'm extremely excited to engage with more characters like this and experience the story the developer intends to tell. So I think we leave it at that for now, but grab a pen, write down Samurai Slaughterhouse. It's definitely a worthwhile title to have on your radar, and I can't wait until it gets released later this year publicly so others will have a chance to experience a title that captures the artistic vibe of classic manga so well, and at the same time delivering brutal and fun combat with my weapon of choice, a katana.
Our swords will run red with your blood.
Wow, that was a bloody good time. Now there's no denying that when it comes to VRChat, most people are there to chat and socialize, but for me, I love exploring worlds, and I want to find an outlet to showcase some of the worlds I've been exploring. Here we go, this is the perfect place to put one in. Let's check it out. So now it's time for the VRChat World of the Week. Erebus by Technobabel is a sight to behold, feeling like you're stepping into an art project and giving you a creepy and yet beautiful selection of environments to explore. The base Erebus appears to be compatible on the PC version of VRChat, but the other areas the creator has made that Erebus links to are Quest compatible. So this is one that aside from the opening, everyone can experience. Each area gives off a surreal vibe that feels chilling, but hard to look away. Seeing the people dropping as you walk down a path, having an avalanche of balls coming towards you, standing in someone's hand with faces looking at you, there's a lot of weird and creative visuals to experience. The creator made a SideQuest game, Camp Marshmallow, and while short, I absolutely loved that one as well. So when I saw the trailer for his newest creation, I had to check it out, and if you're someone who likes this kind of thing, I suggest booting up VRChat and taking a look for yourself. Pretty awesome, right? Well, it's time for the final game of the week, and it's one that will definitely educate you more than entertain you, but that's not saying it's not a good time. Let's start it up and see what you think. Car Parking Simulator. Yeah, it's a game you park cars in. Well that was an easy review. Just kidding. Let's get into this SideQuest game, which I was given a copy for this review for the Oculus Quest, and I'm going to start with the features first. In Car Parking Simulator, it gives you several vehicles to drive, but you do need to unlock them, so we're starting off with the basic car, and okay. The first missions or parking tasks are extremely easy, but we gotta start somewhere, and I think it's good to get people warmed up. Don't worry, they will get challenging before long and start to kick your butt and work your mind. Beyond the car parking missions, there is a city drive mode, where you are given a small little city environment to drive around, with missions scattered around, which vary from easy to pretty challenging. I admit I was struggling big time with the parallel parking. Oh, and these aren't all parking. There are some that you need to drive straight on a small plank in the air, and it's easy to misjudge and fall off the edge. The regular parking challenges are not timed, but the city ones are, so I definitely feel that the game part of this is the city, but I do want to stress this is a lot more of an educational game and less of a play for fun kind of game. Don't expect to feel like you're playing GTA. Do expect to become a better driver. In fact, I think this could double up and offer more driving styled lessons and become the must-have tool for new drivers to learn to drive. Past the modes, the vehicles are very detailed. You can press buttons to put the windows up and down, control the radio to pause or change songs, and use the mirrors to help you park, which you will most definitely need to get 3 stars in every challenge. Control-wise, you're given the option to use your hands freely, shifting gears and turning the wheel, but you're welcome to change turning to the analog stick, which while being significantly easier, is also significantly less beneficial for those using this to learn to drive. One suggestion I will make is I wish there was some rumble when turning the wheel to give it more weight, as I noticed especially in the city driving, it was really easy to turn the wheel way too quickly and go off the road or mess up your parking job. Now presentation, I mentioned the features the car has internally already, but graphically this game does look very basic. That is not a bad thing so much as we are running on the Oculus Quest and I prefer smooth gameplay over fancy graphics, and the simple style makes it a lot easier to focus on the task and the learning. The music sounds great, as do the effects. The beeping when you're backing up and about to hit something could be a little bit louder, perhaps, but I would say I didn't have any real issue with the audio. I do think for the learning to drive, it would be nice to have a voice to guide you instead of just text, but that is likely a personal preference thing. So to conclude, Car Parking Simulator is a great tool to learn to drive and park. It is not really exciting or action-packed, and while some of the city driving stuff is definitely on the more game side of things, if you're expecting to buy this game or have a fun driving game, then I might hold off. However, if you're expecting to improve your skills on the road, have a future driver who will be learning to drive or is currently learning to drive, or find this type of activity an entertaining way to challenge yourself, Car Parking Simulator is a fantastic release, well worth the money, even has some Quest 2 enhancements, and I can definitely recommend it. So thank you everyone for watching, please like, comment, and subscribe, and like I said at the start of the video, let me know what you thought down below. You guys are awesome, and I hope to see you next time.